What is up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. As always, thanks for coming back. So today, like I said in the last video, we're gonna take a slight break from the OBS and all the axle swap stuff, and we're gonna focus on the garage. Mainly in this video is gonna be basically the backbone to my business, the CNC plasma table, upgrading that, and a few other things here. Now, as you see, I already sort of started working on that. I moved my tool table over here, and this is now going to be my new kind of CNC plasma table station. This is where all my consumables are going to be, and all the tools for the table are going to be on here, as well as the computer. But now, as far as the actual table, we have a few upgrades for it. We have a few new filters for it. We actually have a new pump for the air compressor, and we actually have a torch height control upgrade for the table. So ever since I got the table, it's had this kind of like fixed C-axis on it, and it's worked fine. I've had to kind of like work around it, but I've made it work. But I've definitely come to find out that I really needed the torch height control on this thing, because especially like on a larger cut, like when I want to cut on the whole table, it's really hard to get this thing level all the way across, and then material warps and all that. And you guys have no idea how much material I've actually wasted because of that. So I'm pretty excited to do that. So I actually already moved my my Y-axis rail back. If you have one of these things and you have the XL kit with the black lower Y rail, you'll notice that it has two sets of holes right here. When you first installed it without the C axis kit, you would have had it on this set of holes right there. Well, with the C axis, you actually have to move it. You actually have to move it to this set of holes, which is something that I already did, and it was actually pretty simple. Now what I'm doing is removing the actual electronics box off of the table. Also very simple. If you already have one built, you know how to do it, but basically you take the cover off and you take these three screws off of the leg, and that thing's off. So I did say that I was gonna do a little review about this table, and I guess I haven't done it yet, and I'll go over it right now before I continue tearing it down. So for those of you that have been with the channel for a little while, I got this thing back in August, I think. And I've been using it ever since, basically nonstop. It is a fairly well priced, pretty cheap machine. Definitely entry level, pretty small. But it has gotten us through almost a year. Now, I have definitely outgrown it, but I still haven't gotten a bigger table yet, just because I don't know what size table I'm gonna get, if I'm gonna stay in the garage, if I'm gonna go to a shop. So a lot of different things. So for now, this thing still keeps up with what I'm doing, but just barely. And the fact that we got that C-axis kit, it's actually going to help us keep that thing for a little bit longer. If it didn't have that, and well, if it works like I think it's going to work, I think it's going to allow us to keep this thing for a little bit longer, probably at least until the end of the year. But if it doesn't work like I wanted to, we're probably going to have to end up upgrading to a bigger one and a better machine pretty soon. But this thing, basically, the way that I look at it is these machines are really good for, and not just this one, like I mean like a CNC table in general, is really good for like production stuff. If you're going to be doing a lot of the same thing, you know, sort of like I am. Like as you can see, I make a bunch of these brackets, a bunch of that. It's something that you definitely have to have. You don't have to be super good at a computer, but you have to be decent enough. You have to understand some CAD software, some CAM software, all that stuff to make this machine run. Now for hobby use, it's also an excellent machine. But in my opinion, if you're not great using like Fusion 360 or some sort of design software, a lot of times, like if you're only doing like a piece or two, it's way faster to cut them by hand than having to draw it in the computer and then export it and cut it. It's a much cleaner piece and way better, but it's not gonna save you that much time. It's gonna save you a lot of work, physical work, but not a lot of time. Now, if you're building, say like a custom like buggy or something like that, that takes a whole bunch of tabs and stuff like that, or if you're doing that sort of stuff like all the time, yeah, it's a pretty cool investment, especially because you can actually make your money back on these things pretty easy by, you know, doing work for friends, you know, maybe putting stuff on Craigslist, on Facebook, stuff like that. You'll definitely make your money back on these things. And For entry level, I don't think there's anything better on the market. The only thing better than this as entry level, I think it's the Pro by the same company. I haven't even said what it is. Now, excuse my horrible pronunciation, but it's the Langmuir, I can't say that, but that brand. CrossFire with the XL kit and the waterbed, and soon to have the C-axis kit. So this thing's basically, it has all the bells and whistles that this size of plasma table can have. And I think as it sits with everything that I've gotten for it, it's hitting pretty close to 2500s, I think, somewhere around that area. So it's definitely not a cheap tool. And like I said, if you're only using it for hobby, if you're cutting a thing here and there, I wouldn't necessarily say that it's worth it, but it's definitely nice having it. Now again, if you're someone like me that you're cutting a lot of stuff, you definitely need it, especially if it's a lot of things that are the same, a lot of repeat stuff. You definitely need it. Now as far as learning curve, there's definitely a learning curve. I'm still learning how to use it, to be honest with you guys. I'm still kind of trying to fine tune all of my parameters for cutting, my lead-ins, my lead-outs, my speeds, all that stuff. I'm still trying to get them perfect. They have gotten way better than they used to be, but they're still not perfect. And I'm still learning software. Ever since I basically started with all free software. Ever since then, I've upgraded a few different softwares for this thing that have helped me tremendously with the way that it runs, with the way that I do cam, all that stuff. But you can definitely start with all free software. It's just going to be a little bit harder. Now, build quality, I'm pretty happy with the build quality. It's been holding up really good. The only things that I didn't like when I got it is that the table's legs, as you can see, they have no really support to them. They're just kind of bolted together. And they're solid, but they're not solid enough. So the table, especially on like faster cuts, it would wiggle a lot. So that's why I made this shelf in the bottom. That made this thing a complete solid unit. As you can see now, it doesn't wiggle like at all. And I also replaced the casters for these legs. I don't know if I would recommend it, just because if you want to have this thing set up to where you can, you know, move it from place to place. Obviously, this is not the way to do it, because it's not going anywhere. But if you have it somewhere set up, like I do, where it's just there permanently, it definitely helps, again, stiffen it up. It doesn't move at all. Other than that, I'm super happy with it. I'm probably not gonna get rid of it, even though even after I upgrade to a bigger, better table. I'm definitely gonna be still keeping this thing for either prototyping or just I like it. I'm probably gonna keep it. It's always nice having two tables. But yeah, that being said, oh, by the way, the actual plasma cutter also you have to buy that separately as well. You also need a pretty decent air compressor, which is also gonna be, like I said, it's also gonna be getting an upgrade to that pump, just because that 2-stage is just not keeping up with our plasma cutter. That is a Everlast Power Plasma 82i. I mean, it's good. Eventually, when I upgrade to a bigger table, I'm also going to be upgrading to something like a Hypertherm or something that's better quality. But again, for now, it's gotten me through. The only things I don't like about it is that, like, it doesn't have any like cut charts to it, so you have to kind of just figure your own stuff until you get something that you like. The cool thing about like a Hypertherm is that they come basically with all the they basically come with all the cut charts, everything, to make your life way easier. But so far it's been doing great. I've cut up to 3/8 metal, cut to like about a 1/4 inch. Again, I've cut for like several hours straight, and I haven't had a problem with it. So super happy with it. Now the Cobalt 60 gallon, 175 PSI 2-stage air compressor. Not happy with it at all. This is the only thing that I would definitely buy again and buy better. So right off the get-go, like the first week that I had it, even maybe not even then. I noticed that the pump was leaking. It actually has a crack right here, and it leaks oil. It doesn't leak out air, but it leaks out oil. As you can see, it's kind of like all over the tank, and it's just very, very annoying. Now the second thing, that's basically the thing why I don't like it the most. It's actually pretty loud too. The third thing was more my fault. This is a 7.6 CFM at 90 psi, and that plasma cutter requires like 5 or 6 CFM. So this thing supposedly delivers more, which it does, but just barely. So I'll cut maybe 1.5 of the bumper brackets, and then this thing will run, and then it'll run forever before it catches back up. So that's kind of why we're going to the other pump. It's basically gonna drop my max PSI to like 155-ish, but it's gonna raise my CFM to about 10, 11, 12. So definitely not a huge jump, but definitely should keep up with that plasma a little bit better. Eventually, like I said, when we move, hopefully to a shop, this thing will probably stay here, and we'll be buying like an 80-gallon, like 5 horsepower air compressor that pumps out like at least 15 CFM. I think that would be perfect for this thing. Now, as far as air filtration, it's super important to have clean, dry air, which I don't have. So right now I have this 3-stage filter, which I converted to basically like a 4-stage, or I made my 3rd stage bigger, whatever you want to call it. And I'm gonna be adding a second filter to it right now, which is gonna be this MotoGuard M60. I've heard pretty good things about that, so I'm gonna be installing it, see how I like it. If my air is still pretty wet, we're probably gonna be buying an air dryer, probably from like Harbor Freight. It's pretty cheap, but I've heard that it works pretty good, so I'll probably be going with that. Anyways, I'm gonna finish removing this electronics box, and we'll continue with the install. Okay guys, so we got the box all put together and back on the leg. I know that I didn't show you what goes on inside of that thing, but don't worry, you will see it in a little bit. I have to take this thing back out. Also, we're to the point in the instructions, which, by the way, these are some great instructions that they have on the website. Makes it super easy. But apparently we are at the point where we can actually install the C-axis kit on the table, which is this little thing. And it's got some nice heft to it. It's a beefy little piece. For sure. So that's a little motor, and it's got a little gear in there. And basically all it does is just raise this thing up and down to keep it at a set distance from the metal, which is super key for a plasma table. Anyways, we're gonna get this thing installed on there, and we'll keep reading through the instructions until we get this thing back up and running. Okay guys, huge update. And we've got movement. Check that out. That is freaking awesome. So that means that I hooked everything up properly, at least up to this point, which I am super happy about. So now we got to do the part that I've been dreading, and that is actually breaking into the actual plasma cutter. So I'm gonna grab that, throw it on my little workbench, and hopefully we don't fry that. Okay guys, so we just got done doing all the work to the plasma cutter, and it actually wasn't that hard. Let me show you. Now, before anything though, be careful when you take this thing apart. If you do, it has the potential to kill you. So make sure that it's completely unplugged from everything, and make sure that you know what you're messing with. I don't, but I'll show you still what I did. Before you touch anything, make sure you do your own research. Again, they have an amazing instructions page, so I just followed what they said. But I'll show you anyway. So like I said, I went raw voltage, and there's a few ways you can do that, I guess. You can tap into one of these wires, but again, I don't like wires, so I went directly to the leads. And this is gonna sound like a little backwards, at least for me it did. But the black goes to your torch. And I have a connector right there. and then I kind of squished it with that nut. And then the red goes to the ground on this side, again, with another connector. And then I just fed them out through the front of the machine. Now, to take the machine apart, it's actually pretty easy. You first take out the back cover, which is, I believe, just 6 of these little screws, little bolts. And then you take off the actual green cover off, which is all of these. Pretty easy. So you slide this off, and then you slide the green cover off, and you should be good. So now that we have all that stuff done, I'm gonna go ahead, put the box all back together, and test it out. That should be all we need. Okay guys, so big success. We have the whole thing running, firing properly. It was a big headache, I'm not gonna lie. I got caught up on a few things, which actually one was super simple. I was getting this error where the machine would go, it would do its first cut, and then it would go to pierce its second cut, and then I would get a misfire warning on this thing. So I jumped on their page on Facebook, which I don't know if I mentioned it before, but they have an amazing page on Facebook. They have an amazing support group. So I jumped on there, I posted a video of what was going on, and they told me that my pierce delay was way too slow. So I changed it, and now it's firing amazingly good. It's working perfectly. So I'm gonna fire this thing up, show you how it works, and yeah. Okay guys, so I actually kind of forgot where we left off. Plus we lost some footage from since the last clip, and it's actually been like a week or two since then. But we've had a lot of changes here in the garage with the machine and everything, and I want to kind of talk you guys through it. One of the reasons why I waited as long as I have to finish this video, it's actually because I wanted to give a review of this version of the machine. So in the beginning of the video, I did a small review of the CrossFire, basically in its original configuration that I got it, other than the XL kit. So now I want to give a review of the machine with the Z-axis and with fire control. Because I'm not entirely happy, to be completely honest with you, since that last clip. I've been working with it, and in my opinion, it's been really finicky. It's super nice having the Z-axis, the torch height control, but it has been very finicky. I've kind of learned to work with a lot of things, and I don't know if it's fire control, or if it's my computer, or if it's the way that I set it up, or what happened. But anyways, let me kind of talk to you and show you everything that I have changed. So obviously the garage looks a little bit different. We moved the machine from where we had it right there up against closer to the wall. We remote mounted the control box. I actually have a clip that I do have of me going into that thing. Now again, Langmuir has some great instructions on their website, so make sure you follow those. Don't follow what I say. I just kind of want to show you as a reference of what you have to do. So basically, and it's kind of it gets a little bit weird that you have to do all these things. It'd be nice if they shipped it to you already ready, but regardless, you have to take off the cover panel, which is 4 sheet metal screws at the top, 4 on the front, and 4 at the bottom. Take those off, pull the cover off, and you're gonna install that ship right there. And basically the way that they ask you to put it in is, I don't know if you can tell, but right there it says D13. That D13 is going to be on the bottom left corner if you're looking at it straight on. So you're going to install that ship, and then you're going to install some wiring, which is basically this little harness right here is going to go on the black. It's going to go on that black cable on the second lug from basically the back of the unit that way on that one, and then this white one is going to go on the 1, 2, 3, 4 and the 5th lug. So you're going to install those two. And this is basically gonna have two ends to it, this end and this end. And this is basically just your like your power. I believe you only use one of these, and it doesn't matter which one you use. But I believe that it has 2 because the other one would be for the pro table that has the other motor on that other side. As you see, is the second Y-axis, so that's why you don't use this one. So you're gonna just put that off to the side. Just put that off to the side where it's not gonna be in the way. You're also gonna install this actual little I don't know what it is, to be honest with you, but you're gonna install this, and it's just two screws on either side. You install that, you'll connect these two connectors, but it's pretty easy. Well, actually it's gonna be these three. So the power, the one for the Y-axis motor, so for this motor, connect that, and then you're gonna connect this, which comes from the actual, what would that be, like the motherboard, the actual computer to this thing, connects right there. And again, you have this other pigtail that is left for the other Y-axis if you had that table, which kind of makes me think it wouldn't be really that hard to expand this table, as in you already have the electronics to do so. All you have to do is fab a longer table and install that motor on that side, which I guess would be pretty cool later on to upgrade this thing. The only hard thing I think would be to get a hold of would be probably this whole gantry setup. But like I said, I'm happy with this size right now. But like I said, this is really not all that hard. I believe that's all you have to do in here, and then kind of plug, close everything off. Again, make sure that you're doing everything with the power off. You don't want to get shocked in here. But basically, I put it in on the wall. I kind of tried and do the best I could to hide the wires. Obviously, it's still a little bit of a rat's nest down there, so I have to figure that out. But other than that, oh, and being this close to the wall, it does splash on the wall quite a bit. So that's why I have this cardboard. As you can see, all that stuff would have gone to the wall. So I think I want to actually do kind of like a panel here in the wall and do some like sheet metal or something, like either diamond plates or something cool like that. But I'll probably wait to do that until metal prices go down, because right now they're insanely high. So for now, that cardboard's doing the job. So now, as far as the actual C-axis, like I said, I'm really happy with the C-axis and how it works when it works, because it doesn't always work. And I guess that brings me to the last point, fire control. I still love the idea of fire control. And again, I don't know if it's the problem is with fire control, with the actual hardware, or what's going on. But basically, this thing has this really annoying, finicky thing where, especially if I open fire control before I turn on the control box, the torch will not fire. And actually, let's try it right now and see if it does it. I'm gonna jog this thing somewhere where the metal's already messed up. So we're gonna do a manual torch fire. Wait, we gotta actually have this thing on. So it's a little loud. So anyways, that's on. So you see that? It didn't fire. And that is super, super annoying, because sometimes it'll do that for like a long time, and I'll have to restart fire control and restart the control box, everything, like several times. And like I said, it's super, super annoying. I don't know why it's going on. I emailed Langmuir Systems and I still haven't gotten back from them. It's just super annoying. And it got to a point once where I actually completely unplugged all that and went to the original control box into Mach 3, and it worked perfectly. Obviously without the C-axis, but you know, it fired. So that's what I'm saying, that it's either a problem with fire control or with that box. So again, I'm gonna go ahead and get this working. Again, turn everything on and off several times until it works. And I'll actually show you this thing cutting. Okay guys, so finally, after a lot of turning everything on and off, I seriously turned these things on and off at least 10 times. I restarted the computer, I think, once. We finally have fire. So like I was saying, I don't know what the hell's going on. It's frustrating the crap out of me. I don't know if it's the computer, the table, the plasma cutter. Something's wrong and I don't know what it is. And of course, now the air compressor goes off. I'll be right back. Okay, that thing finally shut up. So anyways, I'm gonna run this thing just so you guys see how it cuts. Like again, like I said, once it's working and once it's cutting, It cuts perfectly, and like I said, the tip life, the consumable, all that stuff has gone way higher than it used to be. So I'm really happy about that. I just have to get that issue figured out and see what's going on. But anyways, let's go ahead and cut. Okay guys, and just like that, we went from a drawing that I did on CAD, on Fusion 360, to an actual made part. It's all nice and bent. And this is basically meant to kind of hold like that. You'll get it once I have it put together. And the reason why I made it like this is because it's gonna go on one of the legs, kind of like this. So this is gonna clamp onto the legs, and then this is gonna hold the filter. Pretty cool little design. I downloaded a version of this from Langmuir's FireShare website, but I completely modified it to make it feel like I wanted to. The original design that I found used like kind of like the exhaust pipe clamps or whatever to hold it onto in place wherever you put it. I made this little design where it would hug the leg. So now all we have left to do is I actually have to run and get another little air hose, some more fittings, so they can plumb this in line. And then we'll come back and mount that permanently, and we'll be pretty much done with this whole install. Okay, change of plans. The hardware store is closed, so we'll install that thing later. Now that we talked about that, I actually want to talk about the garage. As you saw, I moved the table. It gave me a whole bunch of space here. I was dumb by putting it there to begin with. I should have always just put it up against the wall. And it looks, in my opinion, it looks way better. I like the way that the electronics look over there, you know, especially with that thing kind of hiding the cables a little bit. And then the power cable cord was just long enough to go from there behind the TV and plug in right there. So that fixed that over there. I have to get one of those like cable things for the concrete to try and hide a lot of this stuff that's on the ground. That power strip is going to get mounted onto this thing permanently, so that's not going to be there anymore. Now, something else that I want to show you guys is something that I'm really proud about. So right now we were limited to only only filming during the daytime because we needed that light to be able to film. But I made a few upgrades to the lighting system to be able to film anytime, or at least, you know, if you really have to film at night. I still rather film during the day because that's the best light that we can get. But if we have to film during the night, we can. Just give me a second. Boom. So like I said, it's not as nice as daylight, but it's like 5 times brighter than it used to be. More than that, it's way brighter in here than it used to be. And basically what I did is, to start off, I replaced all of these lights with LEDs, and then I installed 6 more LED strips on the ceiling, and it turned out amazingly well. Like I said, it's super bright in here. I feel more confident about recording in here when the doors are closed and everything. Anyways, like I said, this is looking great. I love it. But since it is daytime, we're gonna go ahead and open up the garage, and I'll kind of show you the rest of the things that I did. So I took out the 2 little shelves that I had on here, and I replaced them with this Husky shelf. And this thing is a beast. It is super solid, really nice. Okay, so it's just all shook, but it's solid. Trust me. I'm able to store so many more things on here. It's still not organized. I'm still trying to figure out how I'm gonna have everything on here, but it is a huge help to have it here. I also did buy this Ryobi pressure washer. It's super nice, especially for the price. I'm able to clean these cars like way better than I used to. that thing never gets washed. It seriously looks better dirty than it does clean. So unless it has a bunch of mud on it, I just leave it like that. And pretty much the final thing that I did is I installed this wall control pegboard thing on here, and it is super cool too. I'm able to have a lot of my tools that were kind of just, I still gotta organize all of these, but a lot of my tools I'm able to have on here, know where they're at, so that I'm not struggling trying to find them. Super happy with this thing. Like I said, I still have to order more hooks so I can put more stuff on here and really get it organized the way that I want to. But yeah, it works amazing. I love the way. But yeah, I think that's pretty much all the things that I did to the garage. I did pressure wash the entire floor. It's all dirty again. The wind's always blowing in towards the garage, so like all the scrap is always in here. It's really annoying. But yeah, now the garage, like I said, I feel a lot better working in here. Like I said, I have to come back and do one more cleaning and get a lot of the boxes that I'm not using out anymore. And then that toolbox will probably end up going to my backyard, to my shed, and then this stuff's gonna go on there. That way I'll have like all of this space to work on my truck. But yeah, that's already way more talking than I wanted to do. I'll see you guys in the next video. Thanks for watching. Leave a like. Leave any comments about the table or anything else that you might have. And again, leave a like, leave a comment. Don't forget to subscribe, and we'll see you for the next one.